All right, Bob and Wendy have been part of the Whitestone family for quite a few years now. I'm not exactly sure how much, and there's a lot of things that God has been doing in their lives that we could talk about, but I want to talk about one specific thing, and that is that Bob and Wendy now oversee a ministry that serves hot food to the homeless people in Milwaukee and now in Waukesha. It's grown into Waukesha. And the story of how they've got to be doing this is really pretty awesome, and I just wanted us to hear that as a church family. So Bob, you are a Taekwondo instructor. In fact, your title is Master Crouch, which is pretty awesome. You are a Marine, you're a man's man, you're one tough dude, you got a sweet daddy mullet. I mean, it is, you got it all going on, bro. And I don't know how you ever got this woman to marry you, but you did, and that's awesome. But I guess what I'm trying to say is you guys are not the typical feed the homeless type of couple, and yet here you are doing that. And so can you just kind of share with us, how did this even come about?
Well, being with the martial arts, I have a national martial arts organization that I travel to different conferences, and the CVBs and the cities try to get our business or try to get our events in their areas. And ordinarily, I would just travel. I'd go down. It's usually a 3 or 4 day event, and I would just come back to my room after the meetings, and I would type on the computer or do whatever I'm going to do just to relax. Well, Wendy here decided to come along one year, and this was 2 years ago, and she decided that instead of me doing that, we were going to have to go on a walk. Well, this was New Orleans, and if you've ever been to New Orleans in August, it is horribly hot and very humid. And we happened to be walking along, I think it was a river walk or something like that. But we ran across a gentleman, probably middle-aged. As he walked by us, it was just something made us turn. I mean, he was wearing corduroys, a shirt, a military bomber jacket, and it just looked really out of sorts. And so we turned around and thought, well, he was definitely homeless, and we turned around and we gave him some money, and we just wanted to hear his story. And his story was he suffers from PTSD, and he wasn't blaming anybody. He got there on his own. He was going to go to where his corner was that he had reserved for him. So that was the first thing that happened after one of the meetings. And later on, when we go to these events, we get these these guys will take us around a couple $1 million buses, and everything is so fancy, and they spend so much money. And we went to we did the Ghost Tour restaurant. I think it was a 2-story restaurant. And as we came out of here, and there was about 60 of us that came by, and there was a gal there just leaning up against the building that we had just come out of. And Wendy was a few steps ahead of me, and she had already given her some money. And I got on the bus. I said, well, hey, we need to give her some money. I think she looks like she's hungry. She hasn't eaten probably forever, it looked like. So we got back on, and Wendy said, I just gave her some money. I said, well, she needs some more. And we went down, we gave her some money. But the odd thing was that 60 other people walked right by this gal and didn't even bat an eye. We went on to do all these wonderful things and expensive things, but nobody ever stopped to just hear her story.
So what I'm actually hearing is that it seemed like God was just saying, pay attention to these forgotten people.
Yeah, for whatever reason. It was just something told us to turn around, or something told us to look.
That's awesome. Okay, so and then he basically said, start to take care of these people. And so you came back, and you wanted to give it a name. Tell us how you got the name Whitestone Warriors. You would think it's because it's a Whitestone church, but it has nothing to do with that.
Right. So when we started doing this and we decided we were going to have an organization, we both prayed about it, and Bob had said that he had a dream, and he saw angel wings and the letters WW, and his first reaction was, we have to call it Wendy's Wings. And I'm like, no, that sounds like a fast food restaurant. And I had made wings the night before for him. The first thing that came to my mind was Whitestone Warriors, and Bob was like, where are you coming up with that? And I remember the first gentleman that I actually connected with who was homeless, he was telling me a story, and he told me that he knew this wasn't his permanent existence or his permanent home, that one day he was going to be in heaven and have a new home and a new name. And just a few weeks before that, you had preached about the Whitestone, so that just stuck with me, and so that's where the Whitestone piece came from. And warriors are somebody in my mind who fights for other people, and that's what we do.
That's awesome. And that's the emblem that you saw in your dream, Bob? Something similar like
just
that?
with the WW in the middle, but the
That's
wings
awesome.
were, yeah.
That's cool. So, if you were going to do what God asked you to do, it's going to require obedience. So, what did that look like for you guys? Because I assume you had no idea what to do or how this was going to work out. What did you guys start to do?
Go ahead.
Well, initially we decided we were going to make up care packets, and we were just going to drive around Milwaukee and find homeless to hand them out to. And after many, many hours, we didn't find homeless people anywhere.
So, your first time you just drove around? couldn't
We
find
just drove around with 50 bags.
it? Okay.
And it took us a couple of weeks, but then we did find a location where on Saturday mornings they would congregate. And so we went down and we took bags and we were handing them out. And on that particular day with the wind chill, it was 22 below. And all I kept saying was, "It's chilly." And Bob's like, "Yeah, it's cold out." And I'm like, "No, chili." He's like, "Wendy, I know it's cold out." It's like, "No, they need chili to eat." So we came home and I proceeded to try to figure out how to make chili for 200 people for the next week. And I had no clue what I was doing.
And that's how it shifted into feeding
Right.
hot food to homes. That's awesome.
Correct.
So I will typically say that we're in a relationship with God. And so what that means is there are things that we must do. God's not going to do it for us. And there are things that he does that we could never do. And so in this situation, you guys stepped out in obedience and you began to just start, moving along. What are some of the things that God went ahead of you and just began to open the doors and move?
Well, the first thing was, as Wendy mentioned, the chili was the first time we had served. And we looked at that, and we looked at how much we spent on it. It was like $45. Like, okay, well, how do we do that times 4? And what if there's more people, or as this grows? And then we had a gentleman named David that came up to me, and he basically asked me, who pays for our food, and to give out to the people. And I was like, looked at him, I said, well, we do. And for whatever reason, I got busy and I didn't see him again. And the very next week, he comes up again. He's asked me, well, where do you get your food? And I looked at him and I said,
You ever heard of a grocery store?
yeah, grocery store, Walmart, Pick and Save, whatever we get on sale. And again, I got busy again, and he came back up the third week, and he introduced himself as David, and he's the head of World Hunger, and that he was able to get us overstock stuff and stuff that we wouldn't, that maybe it's expensive stuff that we can actually give out to the homeless and prepare for them.
So, God is providing the food that you guys are preparing.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. In fact, Bob and Wendy have told me that I don't think you guys park your car in your garage because it's just filled with stuff right there for all the homeless. You're going to need to build an addition.
I'm already in the process of building an addition. It's going to be our ministry
awesome.
for the homeless.
Just to store stuff. That's awesome. So, how long have you guys been doing this now?
It's about 2 years.
In January, it'll be 2 years.
And has it just been peaches and roses, piece of cake, everything?
Not at all. There are a lot of people out on the streets who don't want other people coming out and helping. We do something unique, but I think because we're persistent, we come every single week, they see we're not going anywhere.
Okay. And are you glad, though, that you have been obedient to God?
Absolutely. We didn't see this coming at all, and never was on our radar.
That's awesome. So God has asked you guys to help other people and to just, in a sense, transform their lives. But in the process, you find your lives being transformed. How has God been transforming you and changing you?
Well, we spend our whole week planning on Saturday. We plan our vacations around being home on Saturday. It's our focus, and we can't imagine doing anything else.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Anything, this is your Whitestone family, anything you would want to say to them?
If God asks you to do something, do it, because he's going to help you along the way. He's helped us from point A to point B. It's exciting to see the stuff that he's done for us. And I just want to throw this blurb out there. We have a new crew that works with us. They were formerly homeless. They now go under the bridges and in the woods, and they served 100 people a hot meal under the bridges in the woods. It was absolutely our record for that. So
That's awesome. Praise God.
absolutely.
Well, guys, thank you so much for all that you're doing, and we love you, and we're thankful for your obedience.